Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. This is part 6 of Trumpeter's BRD Class 52 Locomotive. Scale is 135. In part 5 I assembled the boiler and put the cab and boiler together before placing the whole thing on its main frame. In part 6 I'm predominantly working on the pipework here and putting in some of the pistons. So let's jump into this and see how I get on. I'm going to move some pipework and I'm using Life Colour UA732 black and rubber vulcanized. This particular pipe is connected to a supporting stem, and this is getting painted in Umbro 6A Scarlet Red, which is the same colour I use for the main frame. Next is a small sub-assembly. I think this is called the valve gear from the pictures that I've looked on the web with name of things, and so I'm trying to get to grips with the name of everything, but I could be wrong. It comprises of two main parts, but both of them are basically the same, and they will be stacked onto each other. The middle section is 06 tab black. Now the instructions did actually call for a burnt iron colour. I had to think about it, and I didn't think it would look that good on it, so hence why I put the black in. And the outer framework is once again the Umbro 6A Scarlet Red. And the last colour is UA732 black and rubber vulcanized by Life Colour. And those are all the paints that I'll be using throughout this part of the video. So I'm just completing the second part of the sub-assembly. I'll leave this a good half hour until it all dries. So then it's back to painting on the sprue, more pipework to be painted. I'm painting the main coupler or push bar for the wheels. This is what goes in from the cylinder to move the actual wheels. So it's back to the scarlet red colour. So now that's painted and dry, I can move on to the sub-assembly once more. So the two pieces just get stuck together. There's a little location point to fit into. And while it's drying, I'm going on to some more pipework. And I'm using once more UA732 black rubber vulcanized by Life Colour. These pipes here are the main pipes that are going to be coming off the main boiler. I do like how they placed them on the card. It makes painting them a lot easier, and of course the thin plastic doesn't get damaged. I'm using the same colour also for the pipework that's moulded onto the boiler throughout. So I'm using a very fine brush here just to paint these in, and then once they're in, I will go over it with the main colour, Mr. Hobby 18 Steel Metallic, and I'll cut that in. Unfortunately I didn't press record, so I didn't get that particular process on camera, but effectively I put on the second coat. Flipping it over now, it's time to fit the few pipes that I painted on the sprue. The first one is the one with the column bracket or stem bracket, and each of these do have their own location points, so it was fairly easy to figure out where they actually go. There's 4 of these pipes in total. This is the second one going in, and this connects up to the main frame. The third one, I'm just stabilising the unit there, the third one connects up to the original pipe that I put in before I placed on the boiler onto the main frame. It was a little bit tricky to put this one in, just because of the angle of it. And the last one for this section is just a mirror image of the second pipe I placed in. So it goes from the bottom of the cap onto the main frame. These parts I'm painted in Mr. Hobby H18 Steel Metallic. So it's part of the main structure of the boiler. I'm pretty sure these are the water tanks. I'm not 100% sure, but they are connected to this main valve structure here. And 2 little red wheels just get placed on here. So once it was dry, it was time to place them on. I decided to start in the middle and put the big square items on first. So the valve system is going on, and then the water tank. I'm pretty damn sure it is part of the water tank, but I could be completely wrong. Now the reason why I started in the middle and at one end and worked my way down was because the location points were easier to follow from the larger square item. So now that I'm putting in the main part of the tank, it fitted in perfectly. So the lining up did actually work out quite well. And the last to go on this side is, I think it's a storage area, I'm not 100% sure, but that gets fitted and it bumps up next to the cab. And once that was on, I can place on the last part of the water tank. So I'm making up the main push bar. Now the instructions don't tell you to sub-assemble this. It tells you to assemble it while everything's in place. But I had a look at it and I thought it'd be easier to sub-assemble it than placing it on. So I've taken off one of the parts that I put on early on in the build. It is a little counterweight part, and it didn't require cement anyway because it is a movable part. So I'm taking that off and gluing it to the end of the push bar. Now this push bar goes behind it, and when it was actually in place it just was a bit difficult, so it's made more sense to take it off. The next part to get placed on was the housing. So it's part of the valve gear, or what I think is called the valve gear. Now, like the push rod, this tells you to assemble it while it's in position. Again, I've decided to sub-assemble it because these pipes would just make it a lot more difficult to put everything in place. The only thing I have to watch out here for is the angle of one of the pipes. So to place on the push bar, first of all, the main box goes in beside the cab, and that gets cemented down into position, and then it's only a matter of placing the counterweight back into its bracket. Remember, that's the one that didn't require any cement, and this made it a lot easier to assemble than trying to get the big rod in while everything was in place. So next is the gear valve, and with the pipe being sub-assembled, it was just a matter of placing this in and then angling the pipe up towards where it rests against the steam regulator. And once I was on, I was able just to move the pipe onto the steam regulator, a little bit of cement to hold it in position, and that made it a lot easier, I think, than trying to do it when everything was assembled. So now I'm going on to the main pipework that you see me paint on the card. Now there's two sides to this, obviously, and each one has a slightly different section, and they get cemented on to the main boiler, that square area that I still don't know the name for. This is where they get attached to. But first of all, they have to go down through the frame in a certain way. So I'm just feeding them through at the moment. And then it's time to actually cement them into position. Now, I took these off the sprue in such a way that I'm only going to be doing a couple at a time. I don't want all of them to go in at once, and it will just create a mess. So I'm just doing a couple at a time, attaching them, waiting until they dry, then moving on. And as I'm doing this, this is where I'll finish part 6. This is going to be my overnight stopping point as well, so it's a good place to stop. Because the way I'm doing it as well, I should point out, this process can take quite a lot of time to do. There's about 8 little pipes on each section, so 5 to 8, and each one individually has to be cemented on and then waited until it dries, because you don't want to have it half set, then put the other one on, then finding out that you have to then reset the one you just put on. so it does take a while to do. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? There's quite a wide selection on there for you to have a look at. If you subscribe to the channel, hit the little notification bell, and you'll be kept up to date with all my future builds, including this one of course, and the ongoing Millennium Falcon build that's getting posted up regularly. So hit that like button, feel free to leave a comment, and don't forget to share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.